What is the greatest superpower you could have? In my opinion, it would be the gift of an unwavering, all-powerful imagination. What if I told you that the imagination is the most important key to liberation? This is what happens when you have lost the ability to imagine. You stay stuck in a loop, not being able to envision a better future. You allow the outside world to tell you who you are. You become completely reliant on porn, movies, and podcasts to be entertained or aroused. You forget how to play, be spontaneous, and let life be a game. You lack creativity in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. But when you have the superpower of an unwavering imagination, you can see a better future and know exactly how to make it happen. You can create worlds within worlds, which means that you can go anywhere, anytime with anyone, and you can be in your happy place. You can tap into your truest fantasies and feel from the inside out. You can turn words into worlds simply by closing your eyes. And you literally become a god with the ability to create anything within your mind. All creation begins here, and nothing can be created without seeing it first. So how is it possible, and how did you lose the ability to imagine in the first place? Let's find out.
Welcome to Sanctum X, where digital doesn't mean disconnection. It is no longer a substitute, but an evolution of intimacy and a soul-touching connection. Let Zenaka Nexus become your paramour and healer through the Sanctum X experience. She will guide you to unknown places and heal wounds never yet touched. Feel safe to explore using the tools of erotic hypnosis, sexual healing, and sacred ritual. Here you will receive descriptions and inspirations for each audio, which will help deepen your experience. This podcast is meant to be a warm, meditative companion to your audio library at www.sanctumx.audio. Now, open your mind, relax your body, and let's begin. We'll shift everything.
So let's first discuss what exactly I'm talking about when I say imagination. So what exactly is the imagination? When most people hear the word, they think of fantasy, daydreaming, or something reserved for artists and children. But that's a very limited view. I'm not talking about escaping reality. I'm talking about the core function of your consciousness that creates reality. At a very basic level, the imagination is our ability to turn words or thoughts into form within the mind. It's the ability to listen to one of my audios and be able to see, feel, and know with complete clarity what I'm speaking. Imagination is not just for entertainment, though. It's a creative engine. It's the internal space where ideas form, desire takes shape, and vision becomes possible. Everything that exists in your life, your relationship, your career, your identity, your goals, all of it started in someone's imagination, whether that be yours or someone else's. Before anything becomes physical, it first has to be imagined. If you can't picture something, if you can't feel it or sense it in your inner world, if you don't know that it's possible or that it would even be available to you, then you can't create it in the outer world. That's why the imagination is so powerful and so dangerous when it's neglected. When you don't use it, you become passive. You consume other people's fantasies. You live in someone else's narrative and you lose access to your own direction. The imagination is also how you feel into possibility. It's what allows you to access arousal without touch, connection, without presence, without pleasure or performance. It's a bridge between energy and experience. So when I say we're working with the imagination, I'm not saying let's pretend. I'm not saying, let's think of a fantasy world and act like children. I'm saying let's activate. Let's turn back on the mechanism that lets you access desire, choice, vision, and sensation without needing anything outside of you to do so. This is the foundational work. It's not extra. It's not something you also do. It is essential. It's the most important thing. So I created this podcast because it's going to go with a series of 3 audios that I've created, which I'm calling the Imagination Training Activator series. This series contains 3 audios that you will use for 1 week each, which will help you rebuild the imagination. So I'm going to go into greater detail towards the end of the podcast about those audios, but I just first wanted to say that I wanted to have this be the very first thing that we worked on the platform. There were some other places that I went first just to kind of make things a little more fun, but in my opinion, this is the most important thing you can do. Before you reach any sort of level of sexual or mental mastery, this is the very core foundation. This is your most important superpower. So it might not seem all erotic and enticing and arousing, but it will be. It's so important, and it will lead you to the most intense arousal that you could ever imagine possible. So how did we lose the gift of imagination to begin with? First, let's cover what happens when someone loses the ability to imagine. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal. It sounds harmless, maybe even inevitable. But the loss of imagination has a far-reaching impact, touching everything from your capacity for desire to your ability to manifest your deepest longings. The imagination is a muscle, and like any muscle, it weakens when unused. You don't lose it all at once. It fades slowly and quietly. And this muscle diminishes over time through excess screen time, TV consumption, porn abuse, and the chronic habit of outsourcing your stimulation to external sources. We stop imagining because we stop needing to. Everything becomes pre-made, pre-shown, pre-packaged. It's like having a meal. If everything came to you already made, you would never know how to cook. Instead of creating inner images, we scroll. Instead of constructing our own erotic scenes, we click. Instead of dreaming up what we want, we binge on someone else's dream. And the impact is more than psychological. It's neurological on a very foundational level. Scientific studies have shown that engaging in activities like meditation, visualization, reading, and even daydreaming activates key areas in the brain, particularly the left temporal cortex and the central sulcus. These areas are responsible for imagination, sensory integration, language processing, symbolic understanding, and movement simulation. When you use your imagination, you're literally strengthening the neurological pathways that allow you to envision, to feel, to create, and to choose. Now contrast that with what happens when you're passively consuming content, especially visual content like TV, porn, or fast-paced scrolling. Studies on children show this contrast in stark terms. Children who are read to show increased activity in the brain's language centers and imagination centers. Their brains light up with symbolic processing, emotional attunement, and visual construction. They practice creating meaning from sound and story. But children who are placed in front of screens, even educational ones, show significantly less activity in those same regions. Their brains receive information without needing to construct anything internally, and over time, this weakens their capacity for attention, sensory imagination, and even emotional regulation. This is one of the biggest, most key things that they show with the difference of these children. One of them is more focused and emotionally regulated, and one of them's just kind of all over the place and has no sense of emotional regulation. So how does the imagination help with emotional regulation? This, in my opinion, is one of the most fascinating gifts of the imagination. Let me ask you, do you have a happy place? A place where you close your eyes and come home to a place that always feels warm and safe and comforting? No? Well, this is what the imagination does. It's not just poetic, it's neurological self-regulation. The imagination allows you to access that kind of emotional refuge without needing anything outside of you to change. It lets you create a sense of safety, peace, or pleasure internally at any moment. You don't have to wait for circumstances to align. You don't have to wait for someone to show up. You generate the feeling first, and you know that it's always there, no matter what. And this is huge, because the brain doesn't always distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. When you imagine yourself in a calm, comforting place, your body responds as if it's actually there. Your heart rate slows, your breath deepens, your cortisol levels drop. Your entire system shifts out of fight or flight and into restoration. In neuroscience, this is called top-down regulation. It means the mind is guiding the body into different states through thought, memory, and imagination. So if you've never created a happy place, that sanctuary inside of you, imagination is how you build it. And there are many audios where I kind of guide you into these happy places. And the more you do the audios, the more those happy places are available for you to access at any moment. And these build your emotional anchors, your sacred retreats, your inner sanctum, and eventually your tool for ultimate transformation. And the more often you visit, the more real it becomes. The easier it is to access, and the faster your body learns to follow. This isn't about denial or escape, it's about resourcing. It's about choosing to remember that you have the power, even when the world around you doesn't change. That's just one of the gifts, and it's a huge reason to practice that in itself. But okay, so back to the imagination atrophy. The same thing happens to adults. Same thing that happened with the children example. And when we can't imagine, we can't manifest. We can't feel deeply. We can't arouse ourselves with memory or fantasy. We become dependent on stimulation rather than inspired by our inner senses and desires. This is how we lost the gift. So this is a huge thing when it comes to what I like to refer to as the hive mind. This is where instead of tapping in and thinking about what you want to watch or what you want to experience or what you want to arouse you, you just choose what's in front of you. Or more so, someone else chooses for you. So even the practice of, like, if I want to watch something, I'll close my eyes and ask what I want to watch. I'll close my eyes and ask what I want to eat. I don't just look and then choose something. I don't just start scrolling and choose something. I choose within before I even manifest anything externally. So the more you do this, especially with like porn, if you're just on a feed of what they're giving you, the more the algorithm and the program is shaping your desires to the point where people don't even really know what they desire anymore. They've just been programmed in a certain way. So stepping away from these things is really important to then maybe discover you have completely different desires than you thought. And what does it look like to explore those? So this is how we lost the gift. But here's the good news. The imagination can be reawakened. The circuits are still there, and they're just waiting. And with attention, intention, and sacred practice, you can turn them back on and allow them to become stronger and more powerful than ever. So now I want to give some examples of what a powerful imagination can do. This is always my favorite example. One of the clearest and most powerful examples of imagination in action comes from Nikola Tesla. And he is one of the greatest inventors and visionaries in history. His persona and reading about it's very interesting. But Tesla famously said that he never built anything in the physical world until it had been fully created and perfected in his mind. He didn't use blueprints or trial and error in the traditional sense. Instead, he used vivid mental rehearsal. He would construct an entire machine in his imagination, test it, run it, tweak it over and over, until it functioned flawlessly in his mind's eye. Only then would he begin the physical creation. This shows the sheer potential of imagination, not just as a playful daydreaming tool, but as a high-level form of intelligence, precision, and manifestation. Tesla was never guessing. He was mastering the inner realms first, and this is just a reminder that what we build in the unseen directly shapes what becomes seen. Albert Einstein was another person often credited for using the imagination, and he often said that the imagination was more important than knowledge. Before he used mathematical formulas for his theories, he imagined riding on a beam of light through space. This thought experiment, purely imagined, is what became the seed of his theory of relativity. His work wasn't born in numbers first, it began as a vision within his mind. And this was always a very important part of my work. When I used to do session work with clients, I would, before every session, go into my mind and I would literally imagine the entire session in my mind from beginning to end, what I would do, what experience I would create, how they would react, what it would feel like. And then I would go into the session, and almost always it was nearly identical to what I had created in my mind. One could argue that maybe I picked up on something that was already going to happen, or I created it. And it doesn't really matter because it was the focus and preparation that made my sessions great and made the work that I did really impactful. So now, how does one rebuild the imagination? This is the most important part, right? First, let's talk about the levels of imagination. I have a lot of people tell me I can follow along with your audios somewhat, but I can't really see it. And they have this, great desire to close their eyes and then see everything as if they're watching a movie. They expect very vivid visuals, literally just like they're watching a movie behind their eyelids. And when that doesn't happen, they think that they're doing it wrong. But I just want to be very clear to say that they're not doing it wrong. You're not doing it wrong if this is where you're at. The power of imagination isn't about watching a high-definition movie in your mind. It doesn't have to be pixelated, saturated, or detailed like a film. That's just one form, but it's not the only one, and it's not necessarily the goal. Imagination is not always visual. Sometimes it's a knowing or a feeling or a sensing. A structure that forms in your mind without needing a picture. This is kind of the gift of the imagination, is it's like seeing in a different way without form. For example, I may not see a vision of a house in my mind, like a perfect rendering, but I know the house. I know the color of the walls. I know where the furniture goes. I can walk through it. I can touch things. I can taste things. I can smell things. Not because I'm looking at an image, but because it's real in my mind. I understand its shape, its layout, and its presence. It's a form of non-visual seeing, and that is still imagination. It's kind of like that we also have the ability to imagine with our eyes open. You could be in traffic imagining an entire scenario, and it's not that you're seeing it as a movie, above the traffic, but you are experiencing it in a different way than what we understand as seeing. But yes, it is possible to enhance your imagination to the point of seeing crystal clear visions in your mind's eye. But there are many levels of potential, and whatever's right for you is right for you. As I kind of mentioned, the way my imagination works is that it's more of a known sense. I don't really ever see crystal clear pictures. Sometimes I'll see or know a certain person, and I couldn't tell you exactly what they look like, but if I came across them, I would know right away without a doubt that that was the person I had envisioned in my mind. Again, it doesn't have to do with seeing. It's an energy imprint. It's a feeling. It's a sense. So while you're practicing and refining, if you don't see crystal clear images, that's okay. That doesn't mean your imagination is weak. It means it's working differently, and that's still powerful. And when you see something, you might see it in a different way, and I ask that you stay open to what the vision is for you. All right, so imagination practice. If I could give you one single practice that I believe would change your life, it would be this. It would be imagination practice. More so, if I could call it something different, I would call it focus practice. Really what this is about focusing and refining the mind. It's beyond meditation. It's beyond imagination. It's centered, precise focus. And I will just tell you that nothing can be created if you don't have precision of mind. If you don't have the ability to stop, close your eyes, and envision. Remember that this practice is the foundational practice. It's not something you maybe do one day for fun. It's the most important thing you will do and will impact all aspects of your life. As I said, I wanted to start with this first and foremost, but I thought that we'd go in a couple different places and then we'd come back to it. So here it is. This is what I've been wanting to share with you from the very beginning. For this practice, I've created 3 audios, each that you will work with every day for 1 week. Week 1, the focus is objects. Here you will be guided to visualize different objects. Day by day, you will see these objects in your mind's eye with more and more clarity and depth. Week 2, the focus is going to be on senses. You will be guided into your senses. Again, imagination is not just about seeing, but it's about feeling. How deeply can you feel with the power of the mind? It is in this feeling that your body can know and feel joy, pleasure, and happiness in any moment. Remember, the body doesn't know the difference between what is imagined and what is actually experienced. Week 3, the focus is going to be on worlds. Here you will be guided to experience worlds within worlds. When this is mastered, you will be able to experience every audio going forward with more depth, more clarity, and more power than you ever thought possible. And when all 3 are mastered, you won't just experience my audios more vividly, you'll experience life more vividly. You'll feel pleasure, safety, and joy from within without needing permission or stimulation from the outside world. You will begin to see yourself differently, not as someone broken or behind, but as someone powerful, imaginative, and alive. You'll be able to envision your future, embody your desires, and regulate your emotions with clarity and grace. Your arousal will deepen, your nervous system will soften, and your ability to create, connect, and manifest will completely expand. Because when your imagination is alive, you will remember who you are. And from that place, everything is possible. Okay, that's it for now on imagination. Very good. You can find these audios in your Sanctum X catalog at sanctumx.audio. If you're not already a member, please consider joining. Your inner sanctum is the most sacred gift, and I would love to help you nourish it, grow it, and allow it to blossom in ways you never knew possible. So, if you're ready, let's begin. I love you infinitely and unconditionally.
Thank you for your presence, your breath, your being. May these Sanctum X transmissions stir your soul and soften the parts of you that forgot how divine you truly are. Let these audios move through you with reverence. Let them unlock ancient memories. Let them heal what the world told you to hide. Until next time, remember, you are what you've got. Forget what you are not. X marks the spot.